While you're in high school, if you're working, it's probably a part-time job. And this week we're talking about part-time jobs and full-time jobs, and I'll explain what the differences are between the two. Some students, while they're in high school, are given the opportunity to work a full-time job, and I will share things that you might want to consider when making that decision. We have 2 student questions and 2 students to induct into the Next Up League. This is lesson number 29, and let's get started.
Giving you the information to help you be successful in your transition, pre-employment skills, interview tips, on-the-job skills, and answers to your employment questions. This is Next Up.
Welcome to lesson number 29. I'm Corey Finneran, and before we get to the student questions and the main topic for this week's lesson, there's something else I would like to talk about. I want to talk about spring seasonal jobs. And we've talked about seasonal jobs a few times this year, but most people probably think of retail jobs around the holidays when they hear that term seasonal jobs. If you're watching this video when it's being released or before the end of the school year, there are a lot of seasonal jobs available right now. I think spring and summer seasonal jobs are great for high school students because if you do need to focus on school, these jobs take place when school is out for the summer. It's a great way to gain work experience and make some money when you don't have school responsibilities. So what types of jobs are spring and summer seasonal positions? Well, there's jobs with park districts, swimming pools, little league or softball fields. They need workers for things like the concession stand. There's positions at golf courses, groundskeeping and lawn care businesses hire people for seasonal positions. And also, many retail stores and hardware stores have greenhouses or garden centers. Those are seasonal positions. There's a lot of positions that need to be filled this time of year. And these positions are perfect if you want to focus on school and if you don't have a lot of work experience. Not everyone wants seasonal jobs. A lot of people only want jobs that will continue year-round. So this is a great opportunity for you. We have 2 student questions this week, and the first one is from Layla from Leadwood, Missouri. And Layla says, I'm not able to get a job right now because I'm not old enough to work. I would like to know what I should do before the job search. I know where I want to apply for a job, but I'm nervous about everything. Can you help with suggestions? Of course I can help with suggestions, Layla. Here's my first suggestion. You said that you're not old enough to work. Well, I don't think it's ever too early to work. Sure, maybe you can't get a paying job with a business in your community, but you can still work. Back in lesson number 2, we talked about the different types of work experiences that you can have while you're in high school. If you aren't of working age yet, you can still volunteer either in your school or in the community. And that is a great way to work and get some experience. And Layla, that might help you gain some confidence. Here are some other things that can help you build up some confidence, Layla. Lesson number 3 is on preparing for your job search, and I would suggest watching that video. And if you're nervous about job applications, lesson 8 through 13 are all about applications. And if you're nervous about job interviews, lesson number 14 through 21 are all about interviews. Layla, being nervous is natural, and I think the best way to overcome that nervousness is to prepare. So prepare by getting some work experience through volunteer work, and prepare by watching past Next Up lessons, which you can access by clicking on past lessons right here on our website. All of you watching this video in class, your school has a student login for you so that you can watch past lessons from home. Your teacher can provide you with the student username and password for your school. Our second student question comes from Tristan at Spoon River Valley. And Tristan asks, can you gain work experience when you're in an entry-level position at your new job? Absolutely, Tristan. You might think, well, I'm just doing things that are pretty basic or things that I already know how to do. Well, that's experience. Maybe you don't feel like you're building your skills, Tristan, but you're definitely gaining work experience. You are proving to that employer and to any future employers that you know how to do those tasks because you're doing them. And if you don't feel like you're building your work skills because you already know how to do those things, guess what else you're building? In addition to experience, you're building your soft skills. We talked about hard skills and soft skills in lesson number 22. And remember, soft skills are the things that help you interact effectively with other people. So, responsibility, teamwork, and customer service. Tristan, you are building those skills. And these are the kinds of skills that you can never get enough experience in. You can always strengthen your soft skills, and that is valuable experience. This week, I want to talk with you about part time and full time employment. And if you're in high school and you're working a job, you're probably working part time. If that's the case, maybe you're not real sure what full time employment is. You might think that it's just people that get more hours and work during the day. Well, I'm going to tell you the difference between part time and full time positions, and in a few minutes, I'm going to answer a student question on full time employment. The big difference between part time and full time is the number of hours that you receive. For the most part, and there are some exceptions in various industries, but usually part time employment is when you receive less than 40 hours a week. Again, most of you that are working, you are probably working part time jobs. Now you might be thinking, well, wait a minute. Over the summer, I work 40 hours or more in a week, or during the holidays, I work that many hours. Well, you can work 40 hours or more in a week and still be a part time employee. Being a full time employee means that you work 40 hours or more every week. You might be in the second semester of your senior year and you're working over 40 hours a week pretty consistently, and you're still considered a part time employee. Why would a business not make you a full time employee? Well, a full time employee costs a business more than a part time employee does. Not only are full time employees guaranteed more hours, but they're typically paid a higher wage. And the biggest cost for employers would be the benefits that full time employees often receive. Benefits are non salary compensation. And what that means is the things that you receive that aren't directly money. However, benefits are money indirectly. And that seems a little bit confusing, doesn't it? So let's clear it up. So benefits would be the things like paid holidays, health insurance, retirement benefits like a 401k or a profit sharing plan. So when I said that they are money indirectly, these things are valuable. They do cost the business money, but you don't see these benefits in your hourly wage or in the amount of money that you receive in a paycheck. A business is only going to invest this extra money in the employees that they want long term. So now that we've established what the differences between part-time and full-time employment are, let's take a break, and when we come back, I'm going to answer a student question that fits in perfectly with this discussion. We'll be right back. Recently, we had a student question that was submitted by Desmond in Macon, Missouri. And this question fits perfectly with this topic, so I held on to it. And Desmond asks, what are the main challenges from working part-time to working full-time? What are the best ways a student can make that change? So let's look at the first part of Desmond's question. What are the main challenges in working full-time? If you are in high school, working full-time is very difficult with lots of challenges. First off, you go to school 5 days a week. Let's say, since you're part of the work program, that you get out of school 2 hours early. So you go to school from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. That's 5 hours a day. And 5 days a week, that's 25 hours a week. Now we know that full-time typically means a minimum of 40 hours per week. That means between school and work, you are working 65 hours per week. School is work in many ways, and that's not even counting homework or projects that you might need to work on at home. Let's say you have an hour a night of schoolwork that you have to do. So that brings it up to 70 hours per week. So what do you think is the first thing to start slipping if you're working full-time in addition to going to school? It's your homework. You get home from work and you're tired and you just don't want to do that work. I'm not saying this because it's what I think will slip. I've seen it happen. I've had several seniors that I've worked with in their second semesters, and they start thinking about life after high school, and they jump on a full-time employment opportunity. They have just a few months left of school, so they think it's no big deal. The grades are in good shape at that point, and then after a few weeks or a month, the grades start going down. Homework isn't getting done. Suddenly, it's pretty difficult to get up and go to school in the morning because you're just tired, and then attendance starts becoming an issue. The next thing you know, you're in a meeting at school, and everyone is really concerned about your credits and your graduation. Trust me, I have seen this happen many times. Now, I'm not saying you should not work full-time while you're in high school. I just think that you should be aware that it's not easy to work full-time while you're in school. There are some social things to consider too, so, enjoy the second semester of your senior year. If you're working full-time, that might mean that you miss out on prom and graduation events, and those are things that you can't get back. That's something that you want to keep in mind when you're considering full-time employment. So Desmond wants to know what the best ways are to make the change from part-time to full-time. Well, since we know school is where issues could come up, I think that's the best place to start. And talk with your teachers, your guidance counselor, your case manager, and others in the school to see if they think you are in a good spot with credits and grades to take on something like this. It'd be a good idea to get some input from your family. Now, if working full-time after high school is your goal, sometimes you need to jump at that opportunity. Maybe that position won't be there if you wait a few months. If that's the case, my suggestion is to be very disciplined with your schoolwork. Get your homework done and get to school on time in the mornings. You'll only need to juggle school and full-time employment for this period of time, so put the effort in that's required for this to be a smooth process. School may not give you a paycheck, but your success in school is worth a lot of money in the long run. So I think part of Desmond's question could be interpreted another way. When he asks, how do you make that change? Then maybe he's asking, how do you get your employer to offer you a full-time position? Well, look no further than last week's lesson, lesson number 28, how to show a strong work ethic, or lesson number 23, simple ways to be successful with your job. Do the things that we talked about in those lessons, and you will give your employer a reason to consider you for full-time employment. We have 2 students to induct into the NextUp League this week. First, Preston from Diamond, Missouri. And Preston is joining the NextUp League because he volunteered. He also shared that he plans to get a job as soon as he turns 16. Preston, getting that job will be easier now because of the volunteer work that you did. Just like I mentioned in my answer to Layla's question earlier in this video, I would suggest watching lesson number 3, which is on preparing for your job search. That will give you some tips on preparing so that when you're ready to start applying for jobs, you are fully prepared. Bryce from Diamond, Missouri is also joining the Next Up League this week, and Bryce got a job. He is now working at a pizza place, and he explained that he is involved in a lot of activities. Being involved in a lot of activities and juggling school and work, it's a lot of work, but it's good because you're preparing yourself for life after high school. Congratulations to Preston for volunteering and being ready to work as soon as he turns 16, and congratulations to Bryce for being hired at the pizza restaurant and managing school and work and the extracurricular activities that he's involved in. If you would like to join the Next Up League, you can get a little shout out here in a Next Up video and receive a certificate by filling out this form and sharing your employment success with me and other Next Up students. So that will do it for this week's lesson. We started off the video by talking about spring seasonal positions. We had 2 student questions. Layla is kind of nervous about her first job, and I shared some ways for her to get more comfortable with the job search process. And Tristan asked about gaining work experience. Then we looked at part-time and full-time positions. We explored the difference between the two, and we talked about some of the things that you should keep in mind if you want to move from part-time to full-time work while you're in school. This lesson is the last in our unit that covered on-the-job situations. Now, we move on to the last unit of the school year, which is on independent living skills. Next week, we will be talking about filling out new hire paperwork. That will be lesson number 30, and now you're next up.